Hello, everybody. My name is Dry Banana Bread, and welcome to Tiny Bunny. This is a game free on Steam, and it's an indie development game. So, apparently, this has been a great year for indie developers, considering what's going on outside. It's something that we really needed. So, this is a clicking story based game, and it's something that I've wanted to play for a while. It looks magnificent from what I see, and I really hope that you guys can come along with the story. So, let's just not waste any more time and jump right into it. The wind clawed at my window all night. It wandered the fields and howled like a hungry beast. An endless song weaved from all sorts of voices, shrill, gentle, sneery, twined in the air. They were shouting and laughing, and arguing about something. Someone was running through the snow while casting long shadows that would occasionally creep close to my bed. Our house had a mind of its own. The creaky old mind of the building that had seen a lot in its days and was seemingly trying to share its wisdom with the inhabitants. The lonely house faced the forest. The dark green thicket gazed back with its hollow eyes, rustling, whizzing, swaying back and forth. One could come out and stand at the edge of the forest to reassure themselves. There were nobody there, behind the crooked trees. Fuzzy silhouettes swaying in the wind couldn't possibly do any harm. It's just a play of light and shadow. Just a play. I knew it was just my imagination. I was already 12 after all. Still. Um, hey, Put away your book. How many times have I told you not to read at the table? It's bad for your health. Look at how slouched you are. This is the only option I have? Is there any no other option? Uh, Someone, I think it's my only option. I didn't protest and put the book about Conan the Barbarian aside. I was stuck on a line I couldn't understand after reading it 3 times anyway. Olia had already finished her breakfast and was munching on some cookies. She was so enthusiastic, she almost looked like your typical girl from the commercials. You're not going anywhere until you finish all of it. I, on the other hand, was still trying to drill a hole into the plate with my eyes, as if it would make the porridge disappear. Hazy anxiousness welled up inside, all because of the previous sleepless night, the black forest around our house, and the gloomy wind. But the longer I waited, the colder and lumpy white substance became. It looked like jellyfish from the Costain Odyssey. I love that show. I wonder how horrifying the bottom of the ocean is, or how cold the black forest is at night. Spoon fell out of my hand. Mom showered me with a cold glare from her green eyes. What did I just say? I'll get it. I had 10 seconds to catch my breath before battling the nasty porridge once again. I felt around for the spoon. What is this? Carved on the other side of the table. Karina. Ha! That's my mom's name. I guess she carved it out with something pointy when she was little. She sure was a rascal, damaging the furniture like that. She would scold me for a week if I did something similar, though. Should I remind her of it? No. She's been in a bit of a bad mood lately. I imagine her being my age, sitting under this table. I wonder, was Mom afraid of the dark back then? Or the sounds coming from the attic? Thick forest? I imagine my grandma coming to my little mom's room, sitting at the edge of the bed, where Olia sleeps nowadays, and just saying this in her soft, smooth voice. Taiga is a special place, little girl. It's watching you closely, sniffing you out, trying to discern what kind of beast you are. For a good sort, won't abandon you in times of trouble. But if you're a bad apple, it'll grab you by the side and drag you under the ground. That would be it. Grandma was caring. She never fought with anyone, never yelled, never swore. Those were the times without the maddening screens until late at night, without smashed dishes and mutual accusations. Our parents used to love each other back then. I remember listening in one of their conversations by chance. They were talking about Grandma getting prepared for her funeral. She had already bought the casket. She called it her cute funeral box. It waited for its time in the closet, patiently. It was black, upholstered with meat-colored material on the inside. I saw it when my grandma was getting buried. The house didn't change since the time she was alive. Only all the photos were gone. Glass-covered pictures with gray faces of my ancestors. They had all died. They had all the dead. A watchful look in their eyes. I crawled out under the table. Olia was done with her cookies and was looking at my share like a sly woodland critter. I turned my gaze towards the frosted window. There was a lot of dark pines outside, but they didn't grab my attention. The pattern of frost formed a picture on the glass. Olia, look, it's a fox. Where? It looked almost like those optical illusion thingies they put on the back of students' notebooks. A mixture of lines at first glance, but if you blur your vision just a little bit and look under a certain angle, not outside, on the window. Look, here's the nose, and here's, hey, eat up. Yes, just a moment. I don't see anything. Hurry up, there's not much left. Ah, there it is, but it still doesn't look like one. And I'm telling you, it does. Nuh-uh. It does. Stop it. These kids, I swear. Now I couldn't see the fox either. It disappeared. Went away. Only the frosty pattern similar to a stretched out nettle leaves kept creeping up the glass. My dad entered the kitchen with long and measured steps. I want to have a beard like his when I grew up. Mom would always ask jokingly, "Come on, shave it off, it stinks." That was so long ago. Nowadays, rumbling the doors and witty comebacks were an everyday occurrence. Olia always covers her ears when she hears something like, "What's the point of all this? The wall?" "It's all for your sake," Dad would cry. "For the sake of our family." I always caught every sound in fear of hearing the most dreaded and deadliest word that started with a D. D-I-V-O. I don't even want to finish it. It was scary to imagine that me and my little sister could be torn apart and taken into two different families. Anyway, your fox is nothing. I have an owl on my window. You and your owl talk again? You said you believed me just yesterday. Has anyone seen my car keys? I remember leaving them on the windowsill. Right. Maybe you did, and maybe not. You're a grown man, a father or two, and still. Karina, please stop. Just let me get ready in peace. Your keys are in the basket near the phone. Well, thank you very much. Anton, stop making a martyr out of yourself and finish eating already. And the owl? There was no owl. But there was one. It had giant glowing eyes. Olya sprung from her chair, placed her hands on her little face, imitating a pair of eyes were her fingers the size of apples each. Last year you had Bobby in your closet, and now this owl. But I saw it. Olya shifted her gaze back and forth from dad to mom to me, but couldn't find any support. Have you thought about befriending it? You know, like feeding it with your imaginary mice? Don't bully our girl, says mom. She's just afraid to sleep alone because she's still little. Olya pouted her lips in rebellion and rushed into the hallway. The staircase that led to the second floor creaked. Mom gave Dad a strict look. Oh, that look in her eyes. It's so uncomfortable it pinned under it. Dad just snorted and replied, and left, ringing with the keys he just found. And it had passed, and the theme song from The Little Mermaid echoed through the house. It was stored with an incredibly worn out cassette tape, which Dad had already glued together once. It's so easy to fix objects by gluing them back together. For example, how do you fix a relationship? Mom moved to the living room and I was left alone, anxiously stealing glances at the window. Oya had trouble sleeping ever since we moved into this house. She would toss and turn or curl up into a ball under her blanket. Sometimes she would jump in the middle of the night and turn on the VCR. Cartoons help her take our mind off the troubles we had with the move and our parents. Oh. And then Oya said she just saw that giant flying monster outside her window. She became obsessed with it. Our parents did everything in their power. They tried every little trick to get rid of those ridiculous fears. Oya refused to sleep alone and didn't believe that the owl was just one of her nightmares. After tonight, I was unsure what to make of my sister's words. What to think of it myself? Can nightmares be infectious? Just last night, I couldn't get a wink of sleep and ended up thinking about what to expect in my new school. There were a couple days left before the beginning of the new term. My imagination drew long, twisted hallways that led to the classroom full of kids. All the students behind their desks were simply dark figures cut out using a template. Circular holes gaped the middle of their faces and pairs of eyes blinked inside those holes. It was as if some completely different creatures were looking at me from behind the flat-backed silhouettes. Their cruel glares, filled with icy sneers, made me shiver from head to toe. Will I survive here? Won't they gang up on me and beat me down? Stomp on me with their bloodied shoes? The damn school can burn for all I care. I just wish for anything to happen. It doesn't really matter what. I didn't want to go there that badly. I didn't want to see the people who were just itching to smack me in the back of the head, trip me up, think of a new offensive name for me. Worse than the previous one. I felt like the glasses I wore made me an outsider or some sort of monster. My glaze slid across the drawings hanging on the walls. I couldn't consider myself any great artist, but Oya begged me to hang them. Drawing was the only thing that made me happy as of late. The small circle of my friends I had just enjoyed my paintings, and they promised to call me from time to time. Sometimes I imagine Mom picking up the phone and saying in a cold voice, "Got the wrong number." Or, "Anton's not around." Anton's not around. I imagine my future classmates lying in their bed just like me, listening to the howls of the invisible werewolves outside of their windows. Maybe my new classmates might be after all. Who would ever like a boy with thick glasses? I mean, my dad used to wear glasses when he was little, and now he's married to the most beautiful woman on the planet. My mom. The house creaked, pressed by the wind. The condo we used to live in, a 9-floor concrete building, buzzed with neighbors' drills, mumbled with the TV set from behind a wall, cried like a baby from the big family next door. Our current house, though I can't really call it new, was completely different. It was silent and easy, going during the day. Its shadows lay dormant in the corners, on the closet cobwebs, and under the stairs. But they all woke up during the night. Something was watching me from every corner, almost as if old photos of my deceased family, with their ashen eyes, were hanging on the walls in place of my drawings. The floor was squeaking. Rusty drains were moaning. The attic was occupied by noisy drafts. One could think the house was performing some sort of demonic melody. And then I realized I was, in fact, hearing music. It was already playing for a good while. Somewhere in the edge of my perception, I could hear a flute. It was mixed with a sound of wind, of the creaking old house, and my thoughts too. I stood up and rushed to the window and wanted to reassure myself that the music was nothing more than a product of my imagination. It's not like someone's playing out there amidst the cold, snowy night, right? Someone was dancing on the field. Black silhouettes I could barely make out with a dark forest as their backdrop. They jumped around, basked in the moonlight, jumped into piles of snow, rolled around, and crawled on all fours. Stories about wolves playing under the moon came to mind, but these clearly weren't wolves. They stood upright at times, circled around, holding hands, whipping up snow, disappearing into the shadows for a brief moment, and then coming back. Something bizarre was going on. Shadows dancing at the starless abyss made my imagination go wild, making me anxious at the same time. Suddenly, the music had stopped. The dancing shadows froze in place, and I could swear pierced me with their eyes. One of the silhouettes immediately parted from this bizarre shadow carnival and sprinted across the field at giant leaps. Oh, he's fast. It gilded on squeaky snow without leaving any prints until it devoured by the pitch black shadow of my house, which became even darker and thicker. My heart was jumping around like a bird inside of a cage. I shut the curtains with a swish motion and stepped back towards the bed. They saw me. A freezing torrent of fear washed over me. I stood in the middle of a perfectly dark room and listened to some unwanted guests move and scrape around, looking for an entrance. The sound moved to the right, then circled around the house. Now my guests should be at the front door. I jumped into the bed and covered myself with a blanket, as if it could protect myself. The shackles of fear locked my muscles. I remember the funeral, my grandma lying there, ants crossed on her chest, facial features sharp like that of a tin doll, ants up and down the legs of the chair that held my grandmother's casket. I imagined those little creatures climbing up to her head and pulling her eyelids with their tiny little legs. Then her wrinkly eyeballs would once again see the inside of their sockets. She'd be able to see her grandchildren. I was chanting the spell she taught me throughout the whole procedure. And now, lying under the blanket and listening to the squeaks and howls, I was repeating those same words. On the Isle of Buyan, underneath the blemished sun and the sea of color blue, stands a cabin made of wood. There lied lard, a ashen hare, for the spawn from the devil lair, to feast and always leave alone. God's faithful servant named Anton. Evil this house must. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Bizarre sounds had disappeared. I cautiously peeked out from under the blanket and saw the currents waving around like a hangman. And the night doused me with a new potion of boiling terror. The sound scratched my eardrums. In reality, something or someone were scratching at the front of my hurriedly crawled at the wood, demanding to be let in. The door was shut. Daddy became very cautious willingly, so he stirred sturdy lock. I remember him staring at the forest intently as if he was looking for someone. Ashes to ashes! Dust to dust! I hugged my knees, placing my chin between them, and drilled the door with my eyes. It was so flimsy and weak before the might of the darkness. And then... oh! The doorknob twitched slightly. And then it turned halfway once, twice, as the person who had entered had no hands. The doorknob tilted once more and then started clicking violently. My jaw cramped in fear. My wet fingers clutched the blanket. The door creaked and opened. The wind taunted me, moaning inside the tin drains. Now you'll see. The door was open, wide open. The darkness breathed inside the carnivorous mouth of the doorway. Tony. 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 It was the night itself calling out to me, flapping its back wings and squeaking its rusty hinges. I was trembling and staring by the web of darkness that hung in the corners of my room, waiting for the one to weave it and come out of the gaping black hole. Tony. Tony. My abdomen tightened. My chest rose up, ready to exhale a desperate scream. But before I was able to do anything, the darkness asked me, Tony. Sleep? My sister's pale face protruded from the thick shadows. I almost screamed from relief. Oya! I'm not sleeping. Did something happen? Oya frowned and stuck her lip with a clear sign that she was about to cry. It's there again. Staring at me. Shoo her away, Tony. Please? I'm so scared. The fear was tormenting me just a minute ago, crawled away and hid somewhere in my stomach. I needed to call Oya down. It was just a dream, silly. Don't be scared. Dreams don't bite. No one's gonna harm you. Oya sobbed. She was trying her best to believe me. But was I sure myself? Ah, I have an idea. Let's go to your room and watch a video. Sleeping Beauty, for example. You like that cartoon, don't you? Why does Sleeping Beauty have a prince and I have a scary bird? The question took me by big surprise. Alright, let's watch Cinderella. My thoughts became tangled, fuzzy. What was that? What stunned me was his eyes dancing wild fiercely under the moon? The darkness clinging to the window and could be fooled by my grandmother's old chants. Couldn't be satisfied with feast and lard and long ashen hair. Tony, you coming? Yes. Just a moment. That's why I didn't want to laugh at Oya or her owl in the morning. Who could be visiting us here in the middle of nowhere? We don't know anyone around here. So persistent. I felt extremely unsettled from just the silly thought of our morning guest could have come from the woods. I barely could hear voices coming from the front door. My mind was urging me to hide. Closet. Under the table. Behind the curtains where Oya always hides. Tony, come here. I felt like kettlebells were tied to my feet. Still dragged them towards the hallway. A couple of policemen towered over me in the doorway. They smelled like frost and worry. My mom always winced and grumbled the moment she saw patrol cars. Psst, worse than bandits. At that moment, she looked somewhat confused. Hello? The senior officer who wore a grim expression nodded. A boy has gone missing yesterday. His name is Volva. Look at this, please. Have you seen him? The policeman held out a photograph to me. There was a ginger boy around the age of elementary school, pictured with a wall carpet as some backdrop. He had a striped cat in his hands and wore a wide smile. Nah, I haven't. Are you sure? Look closely. Where would I see him? I don't know anyone around here. I barely leave this house. Well, maybe you've seen him from your window. Mom says, that's right. Your windows look straight into the forest, don't they? Window. No. I haven't seen anything. I see. He sounded tired, but his eyes, his stare, long and heavy, was full of suspicion. I squirmed unwillingly under the weight of the guilt, which was his giant shadow cast over me. The policeman finally tore his eyes from me and glanced over the hallway, the stairway, and the cracks in the ceiling, which haven't been noticed before for some reason. How do you like your new place, by the way? Getting used to it? Bit by bit. Just a little daughter misses the city a lot. Misses the city, huh? Have the locals been treating you well? Yes, everything's alright. Thank you. The policeman pierced through me one more time with his gray eyes. My head started to spin. Can I help you somehow? I asked that in a shaky voice to a look of a polite boy at the end of his unpleasant conversation sooner. Now that I think about it, you look just like one of my nephews, little fella. He's a witty boy around your age. Wears the same type of goggles. Always engrossed in reading those mystery novels. Told me he wants to enroll in police school when his family visits this summer. Wanted to help other people, just like me, you see. I felt uncomfortable, as if a distant relative and not a police officer stood before me. You know what? Little boys like you should stay home. Steer away from trouble. Times have changed so much. Mom interjected in a cold voice. You don't say. Ah, well then. What grade are you in, Tony boy? 6. Have you made any friends here so far? No, not yet. I'll be going to school for the first time after the break. Ah, then I'll leave you my number, just in case. Call me if you have any new info. The policemen were going along the shadows, the smell of cheap cologne, and the photo of the smiling boy. His face stood still before my eyes. I wonder what it was like for him, being all alone, there. For some reason, I thought of the forest swaying in the wind. What did his poor parents feel? What would my parents do if I was gone missing? Would they cry and thrash around hysterically? Or would they accuse each other like they always do and forget about me eventually? Mom, this Volva, did he go missing in our forest? Seems like it. Poor child. I looked out the window at the road. The police UAZ drove off towards the village. The officer's nephew came to mind when I was splitting off old paint from the wood shell. Ew, nasty. I remembered all my teenage mystery novels from Black Kitty series I've read this summer. Your average boys and girls investigating all sorts of mysteries there. They looked for clues, spied on suspicious people, and after a set of amazing adventures, BAM! Solved any complicated case. They became local celebrities, and most of them made their parents very proud. I noticed a trail of policeman footprints that led to the forest, and then it clicked in my head. Why don't I start an investigation of my own? Maybe I'll find that little lost boy, and I'll get a reward, and Oya will be so happy. And not only Oya, Mom and Dad too. Maybe they'll even forget about their quarrels for a while. Maybe they'll even save us from the D word. I fantasized about buying Oya a Tamagotchi and getting a cassette player with a bunch of tapes for myself and a whole box of Kinder Surprise. When was the last time my parents bought us any toys? Last autumn, I think. My dad had lost a job at the time. There's that annoying song about it. I had a little to no idea what was the kind of accounting job like. They count money, I think. The neighbors used to envy us. But nowadays, Mom and Dad barely had any money to afford sweets. And my dad would always divide a single chocolate bar between me and Oya. Sometimes I gave her my share too. No matter how much I wanted to eat sweets, she was still just a peepsqueak. I couldn't wait to go out, looking for clues. I'm going outside. Yeah, right. You want the police to go around with your photograph next? Forest is so thick. Whoever the boys got snatched up by wild animals or something even worse. Even worse, echoed the hallway. I won't go far. I'll stay away from the forest. Did you hear what I say? Or should I repeat myself? Better go pack your school bag or play with Oya. The sound of splashing water came from the kitchen. It meant the argument was over and my mom had the last word. Investigate! Anton! I'll whip you if you make you take a single step out that door. I need to distract my mom somehow. I always get scolded in my ass with my father's leather belt. Grandma kept ice cream for me and Oya there, but now I can only see meat bits for the soup and clubbed together pelmeni. I grew to hate them already. The dark, stuffy closet. Mom says it smells like mice. How would she know their smell? She hates when I stick my nose in there. She's afraid I'll cut myself with freshly sharpened axe. And Oya can't even be lured close to it. She thinks Bobby lives in there. I tried to help her fight her fears once. I opened the door and turned on a dim lamp so she would see there's nothing to fear but cobwebs. Dad's tools and scratched walls. She still didn't believe me. And I like to hide in the closet and listen to Oya count outside. 1, 2, 3. Better hide from me. And then drag her feet on the creaking floorboards, hoping that she wouldn't need to be looked for me in the cramped monster's den. My parents prohibited me from taking long distance calls, but from time to time they really wanted to hear old friends. Sometimes I would just pick up the phone, listen to a low hum on the zoomer in the distance crackling, imagining the wind howling on an ice-leaden course. Mom's peg top, a family relic. My mom played with it when she was little, and then she gifted it to me. Oya was next in the session line. The toy belonged to her now. She stared at the dancing spindle as if it could show somehow a fairy tale, maybe even our future. Now my little sister was a little too old for that old squeaky peg top. The cross had seen so many people come and go in this house. It was black as if it absorbed all human sin from the long years of it hanging under the ceiling. After Grandma died, Mom was going to take it off and hang a horseshoe in this place as a lucky charm. But she cut herself with the cross, sharp corner, almost fell from the stepladder. Dad called it a sign from above and ordered the cross be left alone in its rightful place. A side of an old ocean freezer was checked with my childish drawings. Mom's receipts and all kinds of stickers from bubblegum with dinosaurs that Oya likes so much. Among that still life picture hung a piece of ruled paper with the phone number, police number who visit. First Lieutenant Tikhonova. I read inside my mind, looking at the officer's sprawling handwriting. A scrap of paper was held with 2 pieces of broken magnet from some old Soviet toy, and those pieces just barely cover the numbers of as if it haunts me. I lean towards it to unveil a mystery that takes peace to a safer place where it could wait for its time, when I could finally find Volva and be the first to call the police when the happy news. Anton! Mom reapproached eyes stared at me. What do you need it for? Hands off. You'll lose it. Angering my mom was the last thing I wanted to do, so I lowered my hand. I took a peek at Mom's crossword. She wouldn't get very angry when someone gave her advice, so me and Dad faked knowing the answer, and being about to reveal at all times. I smiled at the fleeting thought. Vertical, 9 letters. The name of the Philistine deity to protect the viper bites and had a nickname, the Lord of the Flies. Second letter is Z. EURCOM of Russia has declared the state of emergency due to adverse weather conditions. According to the weather forecast, a cyclone is moving towards the region. Expect heavy snowfall, blizzards, snow drifts on the road. Keep your eyes open and take care of yourself. There's nothing here. A decrepit and stain-covered calendar was once my favorite form of entertainment in my grandma's house. I remember waking up and running to the kitchen so I could tear it off yesterday's leaf first thing in the morning as if it was coming day. Would get lost in Tiger's Forest without my house. One day closer to New Year's. Day closer to Grandma's funeral. I haven't touched this calendar for years now. From the time they started writing dark and spooky death chants, it only made me gloomy instead of the funny proverbs and superstitions to be exact. I grabbed the dusty calendar leaf with caution and tore it with effortlessly. Sadly, the spooky descriptions of my childhood were still there. 7 horses carry the log. If 7 can't carry, bring the 8th from the ferry. They'll take it away and never come back. This is the fate the log cannot escape. I crumbled the gray leaf and threw it into the waste bin, hoping to get rid of the anxiousness that washed over me. It was spreading inside of me like an ink stain on a blotted paper. Anton, get your ass out the closet immediately. Where else is there to look at? Is there something I am... Mom, something's wrong with the TV. Damn it, I skipped something. Let me go back. Ah, there we go. Anton, get your ass out of the closet immediately. Anton, yep. Mom, something's wrong with the TV. The picture is dim and there's stripes all over the screen. Mom's face became visibly distorted. Ah, you're killing me here. So you've had enough of shooting those stupid ducks now? Told you the kind scope will go dim because of your Kansu. Where will we find a TV technician in this hole, huh? Maybe it's just a setting? Please go free see yourself. Strange, it worked fine for me this morning. Maybe the snowfall caused it. Mom rubbed her hands clean in the apron and went to Oya's room. Haha! I opened the front gate and went into the field. Carefully, so Mom wouldn't see me from the window. When I crossed the half difference towards the forest, the snow piles became as high as my knees. I remember my nightly fears. I saw those silhouettes around here. They were jumping around holding hands. That hypnotizing music started playing in my head on its own. In the light of day, those distant figures felt like a simple dream. The sun turned my nightmares to ash, but after the aftertaste was still there, distant ringing in my ears, distorted shadows crawling to the snow alongside me, and a barely audible whisper in my head, blurry and almost kind. Everything was silent. So silent, I felt the world was totally empty. No ground, no sky, no parents, no Olia. The time has reached its limit. One-way trip that ended at the forest piney stockade. Sometimes silence was so much more scarier than any scream. Our parents would scream at each other while arguing, and both me and Olga would turn to stone listening to them. But then they always came to the ringing silence. Our apartment became a numb couple of days before we departed. It was hard to remember the last time our mom and dad joked around, laughing, spending time together, almost as if it was a previous life. When they kissed with Oya present, she was always frowned and snorted in a funny way. One day it all changed. Something important had left our home. Something scary filled the remaining void. It was as if fire broke out and our parents were hurriedly packaging our belongings, trying to save themselves and us. From who though? From the people with cold, dead eyes, who sometimes visited us in the previous home. The eyes that only saw balls of worms and black ground and everything. And somewhere far away, a siren was going off, trying to warn us of the coming minutes. I shuddered, chasing away my delusion, and looked around. It was only me, this white field in the wind that was whipping the icy dust and belts of powder snowed. I squinted from the sun and turned my eyes to the sunless forest. It looked especially dark in this contrast with the blindly whiteness. Knobby tree roots silted under the snow like fat snakes. Rotting leaves and cophecerous needles froze into the ice. Dry, prickly branches intertwined, bringing up uncomfortable thoughts about fences. Were they protecting the forest? Or were they keeping something from breaking out? Some object was hanging from the pointy branches. I tried to get closer, drowning in the snow. When I almost got to the edge of the forest, I saw a knitted mitten. It looked like a wounded bird among the hungering semidark. Did I take it to the police? The senior officer looked gloomy, but he still reminded me of Captain Casanova from my TV show, Streets of Broken Lights. He was also always anxious, with a tired look in his eyes, but still brave and strong. Will this mitten help them find that lost boy? Ova. I heard a distant shout, looked like it was coming from the river. Bova, as if the trees were calling out to someone. Bova resounded closer to me. Someone was standing there behind the trees, hiding. Bova! I knew someone was looking at that lost boy, but still, something was unsettling about that figure. Its stillness, how it bent unnaturally towards the ground, its blackness. There's no one there, just branches and roots. It's all my imagination. A nearby bird flapped its wings loudly. Oh! A shadow split from the tree and disappeared from my sight. I looked away for just a moment, but when I turned my gaze back at the same place, it was gone. So it was my imagination after all? Silence reigned for a painfully long time. My muscles were tightly sprung. My heart was beating somewhere in my throat. Any noise, any little movement, any whisper from the thicket, and I'd sprint. But nothing of sort happened. I looked at the mitten once more. Oh, we're gonna grab it. I decided to take the lonely mitten from its branch. Bova! A shout rumbled across the field and dissolved into the distance. No echo, no hope for a reply. I stepped towards the bristly trees and tried to calm my find. It didn't budge. I pulled harder. The branch cracked and Mitchell tore it off, landing on my hand with a squishy sound. All too heavy. Wet. I squeezed it without thinking as something dark spilled from it, forming a tiny spring between the mitten and the snow. Steam rose from the snow pile. I froze in place, studying my palms in disgust. Red? The sound of crackling branches invaded the silence. I didn't think twice before running away. Someone was chasing me from the darkness, breaking pine branches, closing the distance with giant leaps. Snows was slowing me down. Crazy thoughts threw through my head. I'll get caught. They'll get me. I'll get dragged into the thicket. I'll be gone forever. But there'll be one more voice, probably one for a reason. It gave me strength, spurred me on. You could do it. Don't stop. I heard an animal roar behind me. It was so loud my ears went numb. It felt as if the sound had come from a pack of hungry bees rather than one single one. The nostrils sucking the freezing air. They sensed my fear. Two giant wings flapped above my head. An enormous shadow flew over the clearing. A hoot, a wheeze. The roars were coming from all directions now. From the dried up raspberry bush, from the twisted pines, from under the windfall. Hurry, run, don't look back. I felt like it was inside of a nightmare. A snowy clearing came vicious with quicksand. I was stuck in place. I pulled my legs from the mushy trap, just to be caught in a new one, even deeper than before. I continued to drown, sinking deeper and deeper with every desperate push. Was the snow ever this sticky? I screamed in horror after realizing this wasn't snow. Someone or something in the snow pile was clutching my pants. I gathered all my strength and rushed forward. The pressure on my legs were gone. My boot slipped out of the hole into the soles and the hard surface again. I reached the clear path with one jump from there, ran into my house. Its gloomy facade didn't look threatening now. The house was my line of defense from the shadow that flapped their wings and the creatures that was hidden under the snow. I tripped over the doorstep and smashed into the door. All in my hurry, I still managed to be noticed the claws marks, as if a dog was striking the wood with his paws, demanding to be let in so he could escape the code. I had to notice these marks when I was leaving. The heartbreak in my ears was so much more louder than the surroundings. I couldn't hear anything, whether someone was following me or not. What if they had already run to the front yard and my mom had locked it? Drowning in fear, I pulled on the doorknob and obediently gave it away. I rolled into the hallway and shut the door behind me. Porch blanks creaked as my pursuers ascended the stairs. My fingers slipped off the lock, then it clicked into place. I gritted my teeth and pulled on the hard iron knob, whipping it between the boards. I stared blankly at the door. Someone was standing at the other side of the pitiful, flimsy barrier that was probably less useful than the blankets. Wheezing breath reached into the house and crashed me in waves. I smelled of pine and sweat. My mom peeked out of the kitchen and chastised me for the same frigid voice she had always used to talking to Dad. What exactly didn't you understand when I told you to never slam the door? I didn't mean to. I snuck a glance at the door and the smell was gone and the breath was too. There was someone in the first place, of course. Here, a mere 5 meters away from my mom, my fear was slowly weakening, melting in a snow spring. With a last bit of strength, I had left my body too. My legs gave way. I propped myself up against the wall so I wouldn't fall over. Mom's expression had changed immediately. The cold mask of strictness that tracked has gone. My mom looked at me the same of all those squirrels. Finally saw my condition. My wet pants plastered with snow. Where have you been? What did I tell you, huh? I told you to stay home. Am I nothing to you? I got afraid she would cry. I reached out to her like she was very little and I wanted her to cuddle me. But Mom regained her composure fast and put on her usual face. Her eyes shined like steel. Her voice rang out. Your dad can't find his cigarettes. Be honest. Did you snatch them? Were you smoking in secret? There's someone chasing me. I thought... I stuttered as soon as I started to explain myself. Tears welled up in my eyes. Mom leaned towards me and sniffed my clothes like a beast, searching for the smell of tobacco. Then she squinted her eyes in suspicion and looked to the front yard. Her expression changed in an instant as she covered her mouth with her hand. Look over there, at the fence. My heart started thumping as it became prey once again and my pursuers were following me in the field. I could swear I heard something scratching at the door just like my nightmare. Mom beckoned me with her finger and I gathered all my remaining bravery to look into the kitchen window, facing my fear. I could barely discern some hairy silhouettes swimming in the snow through the icing patterns of the glass. Dogs. Just a small pack of strays with no name and owner, barely reminding the hungry monster that lives on the edge of the forest. Oh boy, were you scared of them? I think they were rather scared of you, Anton. They were chasing me like a bunny. And what if they were rabid? The smile had slowly disappeared from Mom's face. Now she looked at the dogs as if this was the first time seeing them. What if they attacked Oya? Mom? I wish your dad could just come shoot them all. Mom, look, they're alive. Huh? What? Are they your friend or foe after all? Make up your mind. You're not a little kid anymore. Mom sighed in annoyance and I felt bitter. Then I bit my lip and fixed the gaze on the cobweb-ridden corner. Well, some detective I am. In reality, I wasn't risking my life around a monster, but rather my pants among a pack of stupid strays. And for what? What use do I have for this? A mitten? Of course! A dark and stinking mitten that belongs to the lost boy, the squishy sound of the hand. Seems like I was clutching it the whole time. This is my trump card as a detective. I hurried to present this clue to my mom. Mom, look, this is Volva's mitten. The boy the police were asking for about this morning. It's drenched in blood. I found it hanging in a tree. I can show you where. Let's call the police right away like the officer had told us to. Mom, look! Ew. A shadow of doubt slowly crept into my mom's contorted face, as if she was trying to remember something distant, like someone tries to remember their dream, but their images slip away. Stop it this moment. Oya will go insane if she hears you. She already has trouble sleeping and whines all the time. And you joke around like this? At that moment, I realized the man was actually wet from snow. There was no blood whatsoever. Wanted to sink through the floor and from embarrassment. Come here, my boy, who cried wolf. Oh, don't you just stand there. Come take your pills. A golden-colored pill reminiscent of a dead wasp fell into my palm. I already took one during breakfast. Don't talk over me. I told you to stay home, and you... That would have given you a good whooping for that. Come on, take it, or you won't be going to sleep at night, and you have school tomorrow. So I had to swallow the bitter medication, drinking it down with a similarly awful water that gave off a taste of chlorine. Maybe it wasn't Volva's mitten. Maybe it wasn't a man after all. Like the forest monsters. Oya's owl. Am I going mad? What's happening to me? Maybe the pill had an immediate effect while my overexerted brain didn't let the fear inside anymore. Serenity washed over me, bringing me yawning indifference along with it. Anton, you done? See, you could do it when you try. Take off your coat. Are you asleep? No, Mom. Just thinking. What about, I wonder? It's just something silly. Mom scrutinized me with her suspicious eyes, as if she wasn't sure who was looking at her own son or not some doppelganger that came from the forest. Is everything alright? You had the exact same expression when the police officer asked you about the window. I'm alright, Mom. She heaved a deep sigh. Fine. It seemed like the house had changed. The sofa's fabric had become discolored. Fingerprints appeared on the bathroom tiles. The light bulbs also felt different, dimmer and yellower. Even the saliva in my mouth had a different taste. A melody of Aladdin could be heard from the upper floor. Oya was done rewatching her favorite Little Mermaid episode, switched to the other tapes. I slowly changed my home clothes and stopped before the sink and studied my reflection in the mirror, like I was trying to solve one of those spot the difference puzzles. Then I went upstairs. Jafar and Lago's voice died down. I walked past Oya's room and slipped into my own. Oh, what's this? One of the drawers were empty. I had the mitten there. This simple action drained the last bit of my strength. I sat on the bed. And then I noticed someone behind the curtains. A tired hand dropped to the sheets. Whether it was due to medication or to the stress I underwent, my room began to contort as if the wind was blowing the walls like a pair of sails. Room's corners bent and undilated. The only stable thing in my room was the figure between the windowsill and the curtains. Limby piece of cloth stuck in the middle of the hidden visitor. Just like a savant of sorts. Oya? Who else would be standing there? I stood up and licked my dry lips. Yeah, Oya, it's so funny. Silhouette was unmoving. It was enveloped softly by the curtains, as if there was a thick layer of darkness. Not a human being. I reached towards the curtain. Madam, my heart beat my heart, controlled by the medication. The wind sang in the field a chorus of voices. For a second, I wanted to return to the bed and just lie down and watch the person behind the curtain, knowing fully while they were looking at me back. They were looking without blinking, waiting for me to fall asleep. Plastic rings rustled against the holder when I pulled open the curtains. Gotcha! I knew it was you from the beginning. A brilliantly bright halo lit above Oya's head with a setting sun in the background. My sister was shining. She was just a baby. Dad always used to say she was a shining with happiness. I always retorted, but Dad, she's not some flashlight. But I brought her to the window one day and the sunlight poured on her smiling face. I felt like I was holding a child woven from light. I saw everything. Oh, really? What did you hide? She was just like my mom when she was little. Before she put her sad mask of tiredness and switched over to her commanding tone of voice. It's nothing, just... Oya ran to the table with her eyes round and asked, "You stole something and hid it there. Are you a thief?" "What? Don't be stupid. I didn't steal anything." A clear image came to mind that the men hanging from the tree branch. What if I did steal it after all? From the forest, from the tilted figure standing behind the black trees. Oya could be selfish and stubborn when she wanted to be. Then show me. Swear that you won't tell anyone, then I'll show you. Oya wore a plotting smile. I swear on Mom's heart. And hope she heard in one of the movies of the pioneers we watched. Don't say things like that. Oya nodded and made a gesture with her hand, locking her mouth in an imaginary key. She was filled with curiosity at the splashing of her giant eyes. The open drawer and Oya leaned in, holding her breath. It looked like there was just a simple mitten, or some sort of exotic critter. Is this someone's mitten? She said as if she couldn't understand what she saw. A certain boy lost it, and got lost himself. Now you understand how dangerous it is for kids to wander in the forest, right? It must be really cold out there. Will they find him? They will. The police are going to house, showing his photos to everybody. Oya traversed the room with a care, pressed their tiny palms against the window. Why are they going to the houses and not the forest? Are they scared? The question caught me off guard. The policemen aren't scared of anything. Yeah, right, flashed my clouded mind. Did they really check every nook and cranny where the darkness could, and whispers of icy branches dwell? If that was the case, how did they miss the man? Or did it appear later for me? I changed the topic, as if I'm trying to get Oya as far away as possible from the hidden thicket. We may get a reward if we go on to find this boy by myself. A lot of stuff, like Field of Wonders. Sounds cool, right? Oya wasn't listening to me. She was piercing the forest with incredibly adult eyes, uncharacteristic for her. What if the owl got him? Nonsense, an owl can't be able to lift a human like that. But you know what? I was picking my words with utmost care as I forced them to over-exaggerate in my brain. Stay away from the forest. I think it's how I should put it. It's cursed or something. Just like a fairy tale? No. Not like that. More like in the spooky tape Mom and Dad were hiding from us. Oya shivered and stole a glance at the window. Saw you running. Someone was chasing you? No, it's just I was hurrying back home so Mom won't be worried. As I look at my sister, my heart was tearing apart. She was so fragile. It was so easy to stifle her light. A gust of wind and her small fire would be gone. You're lucky. Mom won't even let me go outside. I'm like a princess in the tower. I can't go anywhere. I'll die from boredom here. You're wrong. No one has ever died from boredom. And you have me in your cartoons, and Mom and Dad will be good till you see each other soon. You know what? I would wish for my next birthday. I wish for Mom and Dad to turn into children so we can all play together outside like we used to. Yeah. If you make them as small as bugs, we could place them onto a little box. Oya giggled and tugged at my sleeve. Tony, let's go watch Aladdin. Fatigue won over my desire to be with my little sister. I was washed over by some sort of heinous apathy. I'm too tired. I don't want to. Come on. It's so boring alone and mom's always busy. We could pick up a cartoon we haven't seen before. I know all of our takes by heart at this point. Not all of them. We haven't watched Peter Pan. Remember how you fell asleep in the middle of it? So much happens after that. Let's go. Let's go. Maybe a bit later. Should I tell you how it ends? Let's leave it for tomorrow. I won't tell you tomorrow. I know. Let's play hide and seek. No, Oya. Then draw me a dino. Oya, please. Draw it. Draw it. Will you leave me alone already? I blurted it out without thinking, and then I was immediately taken back. I never screamed at my little sister like that. Oya stared at me in shock. Her lips started trembling, a precursor to tears. My chest was seething with disgust and embarrassment. What's happening to me? I hurried to prevent Oya from crying. Alright, you win. Let's go watch a cartoon for a bit. I don't wanna. I came up to her, put my hand on her soft head. Let's go. Let's go watch Peter Pan. Boo, you'll fall asleep again. I smiled and lifted her chin, and her eyes were wet and felt bottomless. I promise you I won't. And I'll draw you a full Triceratops later. Hooray! Triceratops. Well, close enough. Oya rubbed her eyes with the sleeve in the pajamas and shining while shooting in the face. I'll go ask Mom for condensed milk and bread, and you rewind the tapes. The bread is so fresh, just how you like it. Alright, just be careful not to spill the milk, or you'll be yelled at again. Want to bet I won't spill it? The tape is somewhere in the nightstand. Look for it. Oya disappeared into the doorway. I dragged my feet into my neighboring room. Oya has countless toys. An old teddy bear is the main attraction here. Oya doesn't sleep without it. She digs her nose into his fur when she's sleeping. A scary window where Oya sees that a cursed owl every night lurking in the dark. Oya keeps the curtains wide open by day, but as soon as twilight comes, she comes to shut them tight so that they won't see the pair of hungering eyes outside. Ah! The old photon TV was gathering dust in the corner. All that was left was clicking the bottom of the front panel. The tube warmed up and familiar white noise started dancing in the black screen. I almost reached out to turn on the VCR when the noise calmed down and blurry images appeared for a moment. It was dark, Tagari Forest, just like the one outside my window. The picture split its screen in half. Something creepy resembling a human speech was coming out of the speaker. Just a few minutes later, the scenery was again overshadowed by white noise. Did I catch it? Some rogue channel? Local TV station only really shows Soviet cartoons, and even that was pretty rare. Only recently, I used to always watch Robotech before school. It was awesome. Maybe I should tinker with the antenna. What if I catch this channel again? On the other hand, Oya had asked me to find the tape. It wouldn't be nice for me to disappoint her. But in my sleepy state, I didn't have enough strength to do all of it. Well, I'm a detective, so I will find this tape. I shoved it through the shelves of dolls and blue hippos and Kinder Surprise. I found the tape. I needed to think its shabby spine. I got the black Rentago from his box. The tape inside rustled and we ran from the beginning. The rustle was lulling me to sleep. Drowsy me attacked me while I was squatting before the TV. Images whirled in my head. Me and Lola flying over the boulders, tumbling in the soft clouds. My little sister is laughing, but her smile becomes more and more forced with every passing second. I notice that the clouds underneath us part, bearing a bristly pine tops. Swampy darkness slurped through the trees. The winds were no longer able to hold us in Oya. You haven't started it without me, have you? My sister brought me a tray of unevenly cut bread with a whole can of condensed milk. I rubbed my eyes. No, come sit. Mom and Dad are arguing again. They're going through rough times. Rough times are lame. On the screen, Wendy was hiding Peter Pan's shadow into the dresser. Oya was entertained by the cartoonish Nana. Maybe Mom and Dad will be buying us a dog too. Yeah, right. I have my own dog in Neverland, a cat and a parrot. Oya smeared the slice of bread with a thick layer of condensed milk and handed it to me. Have you lost all your baby teeth? Obviously. Oya frowned deep in thought. Peter Pan has baby teeth. What if they won't let you go to his land with adult teeth? We'll think about something. Well, ask Dad to alter your age in the passport. And why would Dad forge documents? Oya took a bite from the sandwich and started staring at me with her mouth full. He woo and hooed Mom that he would do before. You'll grow ears as big as Dumbo. Oya got worried and touched her ears, and I smiled myself. My little sister was silent now. She devoured bread watching the adventures of Peter Pan, Tinkerbell, and James Hook. As if she got sucked into the fairy tale of Neverland. To be honest, I imagined myself there in the land where it never ages, no one ever argues, little things, where no one listens to fights and the sound of the broken place at night. I felt like I was always dreaming with my eyes still open. Then my sister screamed and pulled me back to reality. Tony, shut the curtains fast. Why? No one's watching you. It's dark, and when it gets dark, the owl comes. I'm scared. I got out of bed, fighting the drowsiness to close the curtains. I did my best not to look outside towards the treetops, towards the taiga forest in which seemingly drew closer and closer. Of course, it was just visual effect for me in the shadows, the branches scraping from the snow. Tony, Mom thinks I made up the owl. Dad does too. He thinks I'm a liar since I'm small. The owl exists. Honestly, it does. You believe me, right? That it comes every night and I swiftly grabbed Ola's hand and looked her in the eyes. I was to transfer at least some sort of my courage and determination, but I really didn't have those qualities. Yes, I believe you, alright? Just don't nag our parents about it anymore. They're already dealing with a lot, so they won't get mad at you. Come and tell me if anything happens. And don't look out your window. But it wants me to look. Doesn't matter. Act like it doesn't exist and it never existed. Like it's some made up, just like what Mom and Dad say. You'll get tired of waiting and fly away. After that while, I'll just sleep in the bed with her. It was madness, but after everything had happened recently, I was more and more inclined to believe Oya's owl existed. Follow Peter Pan's events as if nothing had happened, as if the forest didn't kidnap kids, as if our parents weren't tearing each other apart bit by bit. Captain Hook was running away from the crocodile, and Captain Pan was headed to the Lollydan in a gilded sailboat. By some miracle, I lasted longer than my little sister. Oya's eyelids had dropped. She stared snoringly lightly, resting her chin on the side of the bed. I stood up and left Oya's room. I was looking out the window and studied the field when my mom peeked into my room. Enough playing around. It's your first day at school tomorrow. Go to bed. You should sleep properly. You don't want to be teased about being sleepy, right? Adults, they think everything is so simple. As if sound sleep would ensure my classmates would like me. I covered myself with a blanket to my neck and listened to the house humming. Something invisible rustling in the corners. My inner voice had a question for me. Do I want to hear that mysterious flute again? Yes or no? Maybe it's just part about growing up, but I can't fully understand my own desires. The forest wailed behind me in the barrier like it was my walls. Some of the ethereal eternity wandering the fields. Branches shook as if calling for me. The wind howled on in the night. My thoughts were annoying flies that entered my head before becoming weak and tangled. I didn't notice how I fell into slumber. Oh, that's the ending of episode 1 of Tiny Bunny. So, that will be all, guys. Thank you for coming. Thank you for seeing through the whole video. If you did, please leave a like. If you do, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. When episode 2 comes out, I will definitely be playing it. If you want to play the game yourself, the link will be in the description down below. It's free and it's on Steam. Thank you for coming out. I hope you have a good night. You have a good day and a good afternoon. Remember, don't let the owls get you. Bye bye.